Welcome back to ZBCN Today. Zebec continues to build out its real-world financial infrastructure at a pace that is notable relative to the maturity of the program. The platform recently integrated Dash as its most recent supported blockchain, bringing the total number of chains to 19, with a 20th expected shortly. Across these chains, Zebec now supports more than 100 tokens and operates with clients in over 100 countries. From an operational standpoint, these metrics place Zebec among the more globally distributed crypto-native payments platforms at its stage of development. In terms of transaction activity, the scale already achieved is particularly notable given that the card program has only been live for approximately 2 years. By the end of 2025, Zebec reached approximately $65 million in annualized transaction volume. For a product suite still in its early life cycle, this level of throughput reflects strong early adoption and meaningful product-market fit. Based on current growth trajectories, management expects this volume figure to at least double over the course of this year, with the potential to exceed that level as integrations and distribution expand. The combination of multi-chain support, global user access, and stablecoin native rails underpins this growth profile. Structurally, Zebec's card ecosystem is designed to address multiple spending and compliance use cases rather than offering a single generalized product. The fully loaded debit card serves as the core everyday payments instrument, enabling standard point-of-sale and online transactions in a format that resembles traditional debit functionality but remains connected to Onchain balances. This card is supported by an application that allows users to monitor balances, manage spending, and move funds across supported assets with minimal friction. From a macro adoption perspective, this design positions Zebec within a broader multi-year transition toward on-chain settlement and digital native financial rails. While crypto adoption is unlikely to compress into a single year or even a single market cycle, the coming several years are expected to see accelerating experimentation and deployment across payments, payroll, and treasury infrastructure. The period through 2026 is likely to reflect continued infrastructure build-out, with subsequent years seeing refinement, regulatory alignment, and deeper integration into mainstream financial workflows. Zebec's strategy places it directly in the center of this transition by focusing on live, revenue-generating financial services rather than purely speculative or experimental applications. Importantly, Zebec's operational momentum has remained resilient even during periods when broader crypto markets have been soft or directionless. While many assets experience significant drawdowns or stagnation during low volatility or risk-off conditions, Zebec has continued to execute product expansions, integrations, and user growth. This suggests that usage demand is not solely dependent on speculative market sentiment, but is increasingly tied to real transactional utility. Even during lower volume market environments, Zebec's infrastructure has continued to see engagement, reinforcing the durability of its underlying activity profile. Everything you hear on ZBCN Today is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing in this video should be considered financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. Recent Onchain data further supports this constructive interpretation. Over the last 40 hours, approximately 873 million Zebec tokens moved Onchain. This activity initially generated concern across crypto social channels, with speculation about potential distribution or large-scale selling. However, a detailed breakdown of the transaction flows tells a materially different story. Roughly 1 billion tokens were observed moving into long-term wallets and exchange cold storage, indicating non-market transfers rather than liquidity-driven exits. Transfers into personal wallets and cold wallet destinations were also classified as non-market in nature, meaning they did not represent tokens being positioned for immediate sale. Crucially, there were no whale dumps, no exchange hot wallet sell-offs, no liquidity pool exits, and no evidence of tokens being routed toward active selling venues. Approximately 555 million tokens were attributed to exchange hot-to-cold wallet rebalancing and custodial logistics, which typically reflects internal operational adjustments rather than market-facing transactions. When segmented, the activity breakdown showed 36.5% accumulation, 0% distribution, and 63.5% exchange logistics. From a market structure perspective, this implies that supply was not being released into circulation, but instead absorbed into longer-term holding destinations. In practical terms, whales were not exiting, exchanges were not distributing inventory, and available supply was quietly being removed from liquid venues. This pattern is consistent with positioning behavior typically observed ahead of expansionary phases rather than distribution phases. Onchain data in this case does not indicate sell pressure, instead it points to inventory consolidation. Price performance metrics align with this Onchain profile. Over the most recent day, Zebec has appreciated by approximately 10%. Over the last week, performance stands at 7.32%, and over the past month, gains are approximately 36.56%. These moves reflect a steady recovery structure rather than a single impulsive spike. In terms of market positioning, Zebec is currently ranked 130 out of 8,944 active cryptocurrencies, placing it within the upper tier of actively traded assets by capitalization. The current market cap is approximately $320 million. 24-hour trading volume is roughly $17.31 million, which represents one of the higher volume readings observed in recent periods. Rising volume alongside price appreciation typically reflects expanding participation rather than purely mechanical short covering or thin liquidity-driven moves. In addition, holder metrics continue to trend upward. The number of wallets holding Zebec tokens has reached record levels and continues to grow. This expansion in holder base supports a structurally healthier ownership distribution over time, particularly when combined with the accumulation patterns observed Onchain. A growing holder count alongside declining liquid supply tends to reduce near-term sell pressure and increase the probability of sustained price discovery rather than transient volatility spikes. From a technical and structural pricing perspective, the market has already moved significantly away from earlier discounted zones. Historically, price levels below approximately 0.003 represented deeply discounted valuation ranges. From the previous highs to the consolidation lows preceding the recent expansion phase, the market offered price discounts of approximately 84 to 85% for extended periods. These ranges provided what could reasonably be characterized as premium accumulation zones. While future pullbacks and liquidity sweeps remain possible, particularly in response to broader market volatility, the most consistently discounted price levels appear to be behind the market unless macro conditions deteriorate materially. Near-term positioning remains sensitive to broader Bitcoin performance as Bitcoin continues to exert a dominant influence on crypto market liquidity, sentiment, and risk appetite. Monitoring Bitcoin's behavior over the coming weeks remains important for assessing whether any short-term corrective moves could present additional entry opportunities across the market, including Zebec. However, absent a material macro disruption or structural breakdown, the current setup reflects consolidation and absorption rather than distribution and breakdown. Operationally, Zebec's business model continues to strengthen through the interaction between payroll infrastructure, card issuance, and real-time settlement rails. As payroll adoption grows, card usage scales automatically. As card usage scales, transaction volume grows, improving network effects and reinforcing platform relevance. The integration of stablecoin native workflows removes friction from international payroll, cross-border settlement, and everyday spending use cases. This creates a utility-driven demand loop that is structurally distinct from purely speculative token demand. The platform's reach across more than 100 countries further expands its addressable market. Global distribution is particularly relevant for payroll and payments use cases, where cross-border friction historically represents a major cost and operational burden. By enabling near-instant settlement and direct spending access, Zebec's infrastructure directly targets inefficiencies embedded in traditional correspondent banking and remittance systems. While adoption remains early relative to global financial markets, the current scale of $65 million in annualized volume after only 2 years provides a meaningful baseline from which growth can compound. Looking ahead through 2026, Zebec's trajectory will continue to be shaped by the pace of stablecoin adoption, regulatory clarity around Onchain payments, and enterprise willingness to integrate crypto-native payroll rails. However, the platform's current execution profile, expanding chain integrations, increasing transaction volume, growing card issuance, and accumulating Onchain supply suggests that operational fundamentals are strengthening rather than deteriorating. Importantly, this progress has occurred even during periods of broader market weakness, reinforcing the view that Zebec's growth is increasingly utility-driven rather than sentiment-driven. If you're getting value from this kind of focused, fundamentals-driven Zebec content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to ZBCN today, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. It directly supports the channel and helps this research-driven community grow. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. I read them all. Now, let's continue with the real analysis.